Welcome. I'm Lori Marie with Deep Thynkers Society, and you are listening to an Evolve 24 production. Today in our podcast, we have Tammy Gamester. Am I saying that correctly, Tammy?
Yes, you are.
And she is a phenomenal angel connection. She works with people who have potentially have lost a child, and she works with the angels to help them with the grief process. Do you want to share a little bit with the audience about yourself and all that you do? I'm sure there's so much more that you do that we'd love to hear about.
Sure. So what put me on this path, actually, I lost my youngest son in 2014. And he and my oldest son were in a car accident, and he didn't survive. And through the process of the grief process, because I'm a doer. I'm not one to just sit and I have to figure out how to survive. And so I started this whole world opened up to me. I had actually in the mid 90s had worked with angels, but then I kind of forgot to ask them for help. And then when this happened, it just brought it all back for me. And I started learning to meditate. I had visitations during meditations. I learned about essential oils to uplift my spirit and my thoughts. And I learned about the angels and my intuition, and it just opened a whole world for me. And what I found through with mediumship was that his purpose for passing was to put me on this path, and that we are to work together to help others who've lost a child to move through their grief and to find joy in their life again. Because so many times we feel guilty when we've lost someone. We feel like we shouldn't be happy anymore, and if we are, then we feel guilty about it. So my purpose is first to help you work through the grief, teach you the tools when it comes up, the different things you can do to move through it more quickly and not stay stuck, and also accept what the purpose was of losing your child. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I use the angels. I work with the angels. A lot of the coaching is intuitive. Everybody's so different. So there's no way you can say, okay, this is step one, this is step two. It just evolves. So I use the angels a lot. I'm also a Reiki master. I use crystals. I use oils. Whatever they need is what I use to help them to move through that grief.
So if somebody were to come to you, do you get the messages when you make the conscious effort to open yourself up to it, or do you meet people and you kind of sort of feel a calling to them also? Or like, how do you work with your gifts in your communication with the angels?
Well, the first thing I do is I do what's called a discovery call. So to see if you're even open to what I have to offer, because some people might not be. But most people that would be called to me would definitely be open to it. So I just kind of, I just ask the angels to be with me before the session. And just when, today I was working with a lady and I got the hit that she should try hypnosis. And so we talked about that and how she could find someone and where she could do it. So it's more just listening to what they have to say and then sharing that with the person.
Right. Do you think that, so Matt, you were talking about the specific angels, and I believe we could lead into that. He had wanted to ask you about some of the specific angels, but really quickly before we ask you about the specific angels, Do you feel that you are channeling the angels, or do you feel like maybe potentially you're an open channel in general and that you happen to get maybe the information from source?
I feel like I'm just a vessel for them to use to share the answers. I feel like that's mainly, because before we meet, I will meditate. I will just open myself up and just ask for guidance. There's certain angels, like for instance, Archangel Gabrielle, who is about communication. So I definitely will call on her to help me to communicate clearly what I'm trying to say and communicate clearly what the person needs to hear. So that would be one angel that I would call on. Just kind of depends. Archangel Michael for protecting, shielding, and protecting during our session, because I have had instances personally where I have gotten attachments, and it's not fun dealing with those. So shielding and protecting yourself, keeping yourself safe, and also shielding and protecting from negative energy. Archangel Jophiel can help to uplift thoughts. So if somebody is really, really feeling really sad and having a lot of negative thoughts, so I could call on Archangel Jophiel to help them to uplift their thoughts, to turn the negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So again, it's just what the person needs in the moment.
Matt?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about Archangel Michael. That's one I'm most curious about, studying or going through David Wilcock's research. You know who David Wilcock is? David Wilcock. No?
No, I've heard of him.
Okay. Well, Archangel Michael, he did a whole. He's been studying him and channeling him. I'm not sure. But, there's prophecies called the Archangel Michael prophecies that go into prophecies of what's happening right now in 2024, 2025. And I just want to know what you think Archangel Michael is, what his purpose is right now in humanities.
So that's funny you pick him, because he's the one that I've been doing some videos on lately. So I believe Michael's purpose, one, is as a protector. He's a warrior. He shields and protects us. He protects our energy. He can protect us physically if we need to. He's also about life purpose. So if you don't know what your life purpose is, you can call on Archangel Michael for that. He can help fix things. If you go out and your car won't start, you can ask Michael to start your car to fix it for you. He's also the Archangel of Truth. He is the patron saint for police and like first responders. What else?
I guess he would be the angel we need right now, because we definitely need somebody down here fixing things and making the truth come out.
Exactly. Yeah. And he can also help, if you're experiencing fear or worry, anxiety, he can help with that. He cuts cords. So I actually make a practice after a session, I cut cords. I just use my hands, like, I can just do this. I can in my head just ask Michael to please cut cords. I can, because we have cords, or Denise Lynn calls them energy strands. So we create these connections with everyone we come in contact with. And with social media now, we're coming in contact with more and more people than we ever have. And so some cords can be really thick, like with our child, our husband, our parents, and some can be really thin, just a chance encounter with somebody. But there's connections with every single person we come in contact with, and you don't want to be taking on their energy. So cutting cords at the end of the day is a really good habit. When I do sessions, or I do readings, also I do angel card readings, I cut cords between, because I don't want that previous person's energy in the reading with the next person, because it's going to mess up the reading. So he can definitely help with cutting cords. One technique that I like to do with Michael is I will visualize myself in a blue bubble and just ask him to shield and protect my energy. And you can create this bubble as big as you need to. Sometimes when I go to bed, I'll just have kind of an uneasy feeling. I live in a 55 plus park, and we have a lot of people that die here, and a lot of people travel through. And so sometimes I'll go to bed and I'll feel kind of uneasy, and I'll ask Michael to shield and protect me and my husband. And sometimes I'll even encompass the whole house. So you can make the bubble as big as you feel you need to shield and protect whom you feel you need to protect. So he's really good with that. And courage, bringing you courage if you need courage.
So it's interesting that you say, that you live in an area where a lot of people are passing away, because it's 55 and over, and it's kind of like, the people that are there. Carissa is a doula, and she is working as, somebody to help with end of life. So I didn't know if there's any, anything that she wanted to ask you or talk about, because I think that, working with angels could be something that maybe assists her in comforting those who are about to pass.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so currently I'm going to school to be an end of life doula. I think I have a couple more months to go. But it's I just finished like my first 5-week course, and it's been really interesting and eye-opening, learning about the dying process and whatnot. But absolutely, I love the fact that you work with angels. That is actually what started my my spiritual path, my spiritual enlightenment, was angels and learning about them. I think I was in my early 20s, 21, 22, and I started picking up just all the books that I could. And just like you, I was just on this very long kit of angels, learning about them. And then it kind of fell to the wayside. And then probably in about 2015, I was kind of reconnected with the angels. I started following, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Melanie Becker. She does a lot of work with the angels. She also has, a YouTube and very informational about angels that I learned a lot. I also have been very curious, and I would like to know your take on Metatron, because I feel like Metatron is the big daddy of the angels. Like the Metatron is, I mean, the name alone, kind of
like a transform.
right, exactly. like this most, the highest celestial being. And so I just recently rediscovered Metatron, where previously I just heard the name, didn't know much about it. So I've been really curious to learn more about Metatron. So wondering what you have to share.
So Metatron is one of 2 angels that was supposedly human and ascended to be an angel. And the Sandalphon is the other. And the last, the ON, rather than all the other angels are AEL at the end. Metatron and Sandalphon are ON. And they're the 2 that were prophets. He was the prophet Enoch, and Sandalphon, I think he was Elijah. But Metatron is one, he's linked to the Akashic records. He is awesome for time warping. If you got a deadline to meet, ask him to slow down time. If you're on a plane and you want to get home, ask him to speed up time. So time warping, he's really awesome for that. He is helpful for, well, let's see, he can help with spiritual growth, transformation. He's linked to highly sensitive people, especially children. So like teachers that work with someone who's has a learning disability, they should be working with Archangel Metatron and asking him to assist them. Also adults who are highly sensitive, especially to the spiritual realm, he would be one to call on. He can help people who have anger issues, depression, substance abuse, just negative, destructive behavior. He can help people with those. And with the time warping, you have to remember to ask him to turn time back to
what?
regular time when you're done. So, but those are the things that he's really good with. He can also help you to be balanced, to stay grounded and stay on task. And he's, of course, connected to the Merkaba and Metatron's cube, sacred geometry, all that as well.
I love Merkabah's and the sacred geometry. Love that. I eventually would love to have a sacred geometry tattoo.
Cool.
I love it. Do you feel that we all have spirit guides, and sometimes people might think of them as also like guardian angels? Do you feel that this group of angels could be guardian angels, or do you feel guardian angels are somebody who is like an ancestor who's passed, a grandparent who's passed? And the reason why I ask is my grandmother was an extraordinary woman who was exceptionally gifted, and she had a team of angels that she worked with.
So our guardian angels are with us through all our lifetimes. They know us. They know everything about us. So, and I think they're the angels that we forget to ask for help, because you think of the archangels first, but our guardian angels are with us at all times. I think I've heard, so I study with Radley Valentine a lot, and I think he said you can have like 2 to 5 guardian angels, something like that. I actually did I was doing Cal Gray's course, and part of that was doing a meditation to meet our guardian angel, and mine that came through was Cassandra, and she was this beautiful, long, flowy red hair. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous angel. She's the only one that's come through so far for me as far as her name, but again, their names don't really matter. If we need assistance, we can just ask them. The archangels, there's different hierarchies of angels. So archangels and spirit guides are not the same thing.
Right.
I believe my son is a spirit guide. So loved ones who've passed on generally do not ascend to be angels, but they can definitely be our spirit guides. They can help us in this lifetime. I actually had an experience many years ago when I was in my 30s, and at the time I thought it was my grandmother, but now that I think about it, it was probably an angel that appeared as my grandmother, because it was easier for me to accept. And I had to have a hysterectomy, and I just had a knowing that I was not going to wake up. I was going to die on the table. And I wasn't afraid. It wasn't fear. It was just, I just knew that was going to happen. And I had a dream, and I was given the choice to live or die. And my children were still teenage and younger. And I woke up just tears that I can't leave my children. And that fear went away. And that surgery, he didn't have to make an incision. He did it vaginally. I went back to work in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I really believe that was an angel. And I believe if I had wanted to leave this earth, I would not be here. Yeah. So, I mean, they're just so powerful. And it could have been my grandmother, but I think it was probably an angel more than likely that appeared to me as her.
I'm curious about your perspective, I saw in a group today a conversation, and I didn't engage too much in it because I have my own beliefs, and I don't, like you, I kind of feel things out. I don't always need to say things, and the topic was about Lucifer, the fallen angel. But they didn't say he was a fallen angel. They just said they were talking about Lucifer. And the conversation went around, and I did chime in, and because I could see the conversation was getting very dark. And I said, well, I thought Lucifer was just a fallen angel. He's not the devil, And and a lot of other people who seemed to be more well informed were, yes, he was the angel of light, and he just happened to be a fallen angel. So I guess if we're going to look at it from the perspective of all beings are a form of consciousness, including angels, and the jobs that they take on, angels are, they have different jobs that, like you said, there's archangels, they have more of an overseeing, bigger job, and then we have our individual angels. How do you think, because Lucifer is played out so dramatically in our storyline and not necessarily accurately, how do you think Lucifer really truly plays out, if at all anymore? Is he an angel of light still? Is he not a being on the other side, in the other realm? Is it, what's your perspective on Lucifer?
So I don't know that I necessarily believe in fallen angels. I mean, why would you choose to leave that, that love and light and that environment? Why would you choose to leave that? I don't believe in Satan. I don't believe in hell. So I haven't really done any study on it, but it's just not really something that I think an angel would choose to leave heaven or leave. I don't even know heaven. I mean, heaven is, so I believe when we pass on, so Archangel Azrael is the angel that you would think of as the Grim Reaper. So he's the angel that helps you to cross over. And he's said to be so beautiful that you would go anywhere with him. So when you cross over, he's there to help you to transition. And then we do a life review. Archangel Jeremiah can help us with our life review. He can help us here in this lifetime and then when we pass over. And we review what we learned, what we came here to learn. And we're just energy. We're just love it. Once we cross over, we no longer have this human body. We never, we don't have these aches and pains and these negative feelings, and we're just love and light. We're just energy. And I believe we have a soul family. I believe we have souls that we are with through all the lifetimes. But I don't know that I definitely, like I say, haven't done a lot of study and thought, but I haven't studied Lucifer much at all. But I don't know why they would choose to leave that.
Yeah. Yeah. We have so many stories, throughout history that people, blindly follow, along with. And I think definitely, I don't believe in heaven or hell either. I believe that there is different realms, like dimensional realms, and we're on the 3D realm, and we're ascending to a new realm, and some will go and some will still stay in the 3D realm. That's why change is so prominent right now. And you said something about how Angel Azrael, is the one waiting for you, like the Grim Reaper. And, you said something else about how when you thought you saw your grandmother, it could have been playing out as somebody else. And you made me think about, because it was more comfortable for you to see your grandmother. It made me think about a near-death experience story I heard on a podcast where Vinny died. And, long story short, he gets to the person that, shows him his, it didn't really show him, he just kind of seen it, but there was a being there. And then he said at one point there were lots of people, and some of the faces he recognized, and he's like, but really, he's like, after a minute, all the faces, I knew all the people there, I knew everybody there, and I was everybody, and everybody was me. And so, that makes me wonder, like, that gave me the aha that we're all interconnected. That goes back to the all, because when I started, like you both said you started with the angels years ago. Well, I started with the angels too. And when I started channeling, ALL would come through, because I would channel right. And I was obsessed with angels. I mean, I had angels everywhere in my home. My mom bought me this big giant angel blanket. Like, it was me. And my first deck of cards were angel cards. And so when he said, I saw everybody there, I knew everybody there, and everybody was me, and I was everybody, it made me realize what that meant. Like, that our consciousness, we're just experiencing. And so you said you saw your mother, who was familiar, your grandmother, sorry, that was familiar. I'm thinking that, when we don't fully leave this storyline and we take it with us to that other realm for a minute, and we see, our loved ones, for a minute, I think it's because, like you said, we get a choice. Are we going to continue on as humans, or are we going to go back into that realm where we don't need to feel pain or anything to worry about, right? So, but it made more sense about the here and now. So, like, we are all interconnected, and we just don't realize it, and we are all experiencing things. And that's why, and you said soul family. I think that as our human experience, we have a soul family, because that's how we remember to stay connected, and how we feel called, and we carry them with us energetically. But really, when we go to the other side, we're all connected, and they might just have the face of somebody we know. When I first moved to Arizona, a coworker of mine who I was not close with passed away. And I won't give too much information, because I still have friends, and it's a really tender subject about this person that had passed away. And her child is, in contact as well. But she came to me, and she put light through me, and it went shot through my stomach and out my head. And there was another being behind her, and I didn't recognize the other being. It was a male being, but I saw her, and I knew it was her. But now you made me really think, like, maybe it was just, a light being who chose a face that would allow me to feel safe, because they were doing something really intense at the time.
That's possible. But the angels can't, I mean, because we have free will, we have to ask for their help. They're not just going to come, and unless it's life or death, where you've heard of where someone will save a person and then disappear. But if it's, we have to ask for their help. They can't just step in and take over. They have to know. Possibly you were asking for healing of some form, and that happened.
It was a new relationship that ended up being very not healthy. And when I look back, because I remember thinking at the time, what did they mean? Everything's going to be okay, And when I look back and I think about the experience, I think it was just letting me know, you need to go through this to get to where I am now, which means I have my daughter. I foster adopted in that relationship, and I have my daughter now. And to not worry, we got you. You're going to be okay. Like, I feel like that, because it was literally, we just moved into our first place. It was the first day in our new place. And that really intense, I'm giving myself chills, intense experience happened. And, she was like, everything's going to be okay. And just like shot this light right through my abdomen and went up and out my head.
She could potentially be a spirit guide for you. Definitely. I had a shaman teach me a really cool meditation to meet your spirit guides. And it's so simple. It's walking through a forest. And of course, it's, not quite as quick as this, but walking through a forest, you come upon a cave and you create a home, and then you wait and see who knocks on the door. And then you ask, are you my spirit guide? And they either yes or no. And in this process was when my son appeared as a blue butterfly. And he's my spirit guide in form of a blue butterfly. And I have a deer, a stallion, and a cat that morphed into a lion. So those are my spirit guides, my animal spirit guides, and my son. And then we can also have other guides that come in when we need them. I mean, they're just, and then loved ones definitely. My grandmother is definitely around. She's definitely still around. I know she is. When I lost Josh, early in the process, I remember I was up, I would wake up in the middle of the night and couldn't go back to sleep. And I was sitting at my desk just crying. And I might get teary-eyed now. And I felt my grandma on one side and my son on the other, and they were just hugging me. And I mean, it was just the most comforting feeling. And I knew it was them. You know, I mean, I have had so many experiences since Josh passed away, and I had experiences with my grandmother after she passed away, and just amazing things that can happen when you open your mind up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
when you're open to definitely.
Exactly. So, and talking about, you know, grief, Azrael is like the grief counselor. So being a death doula, you definitely want to bring Azrael in to help not only the person passing on, but the people that are left behind, because we're the ones that are left here to suffer. They're feeling no pain. You know.
As I've been going through this program, you know, like I said, I'm learning so much, but also learning so much about my own grief experiences. And, you know, I went to my first funeral when I was 7 years old, and I felt like I got a head start on most people that I speak to. Some people my age, I'm in my late 40s, and they've never been to a funeral. And so I've been to so many. You know, I buried my dad 2 years ago, and then 6 months later, my grandmother, his mom, passed away. But I think the hardest for me was losing my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. I took care of them the last couple of years of their lives. I was very close to them. They raised me, and they died 10 days apart.
Wow.
And it was my grandfather. We knew he was going to pass. He went home on hospice. You know, my grandma, my mom, and I planned his funeral. And then a few days later, my grandmother just has a sudden heart attack in the middle of the night. Now, I firmly believe we plan our exit.
Wow.
It's never when we want our families to, you know, agree to it. But before we come down, I firmly believe up in the ethers, before we come here, we plan our parents, our family, at what we're going to go through, the people we're going to meet. We create soul contracts, and we also plan when we're going to return back into the ethers, right? So I was with my grandmother that night, and I was supposed to go back over to her house. I lived next door to her. And so I was kind of beating myself up. I should have went back to her house. Maybe I would have been there when she had the heart attack. And later on, she gave me the message that do not feel bad. I planned this. There's nothing that you could have done. I went when I was ready, when I planned it, when I was ready to go. This was planned before I even got here. And so that just kind of propelled me more on my spiritual path. It's because of her I am who I am, and the gifts that she passed down to me. And so that's when I started to look into soul contracts, spirit, you know, your soul family, twin flames, karmic relationships, the Akashic records. That just spiraled me even more into my spirituality and growing closer to death. But it was the grief. It was the grief. My family didn't come together and support each other. We all grieved separately. And I didn't handle my grief in the most healthiest ways. And it was devastating to me. My heart hurt. I thought I was going to die from the pain in my heart. I'd never experienced that kind of devastating heartache. Not even a breakup that I've been through could have created that kind of pain and grief. And it took me many years to get out of those unhealthy grief habits that became permanent in my life. And I wish I had a me now back then. This was in 2008.
Yeah.
And so that's also another reason why what has brought me to choose the path of an end-of-life doula is I want to support the family and be there for them, for those people who don't have their family to rely on. Also, I would like to bring a more death positive aspect to community, to society, that there is more in the afterlife. It's beautiful. Our connection will still remain close with our deceased loved ones. They are there. I want to empower people to still connect with them even after, in the afterlife. So
what I wanted to say about us planning our exit, when Josh told us from the time he was 16 that he was not going to live past 30, and he was 3 weeks shy of 25 when he passed away. So that kid knew. He knew he was not going to be around for a long time. So what he needed to do, he did quickly, and he went back home. He was like, I'm out of here.
Want to give the listeners a little feel for what you do and how you do it and how you work, and if you're open to it. Are you open to seeing if there are angels that are here for any of the three of us today that maybe have something coming through, or how do you feel about that?
You have somebody on your shoulder, Carissa?
Yeah, right before we started, I got the drop-in of my hearing shift. I don't know if what you experience when they show up for you, but I know somebody definitely dropped in right before I joined, because my ears ring, and then it's like a shift in my hearing, and then I have to pay attention to what side the hearing shifts, and it was on my left side.
Okay, left side. That's maternal, right? Right side is paternal, maternal. Could it be your grandma?
I possibly.
I think with her being on your right side. My son always shows up on my left side, always. So I use cards a lot. Actually,
break them out.
Give me a sec. Hold on.
Stop calling me, Josh.
Okay, so this is the very first deck that I ever started using, and
see if it's the same one I
love
this is can you see it? Talking to Heaven. So these are messages from loved ones who passed on. Mediumship card. And the very first message I ever got from my son was I had to go that way. I mean, how much clearer?
Isn't that Van Prague? Didn't Van Prague write that?
Yeah.
Van Prague?
Yes.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, I got it in my book over here. Yeah, it's a good book. Yeah, I love him.
So,
mine was Virtue.
So I can see what comes up for you guys as far as messages from loved ones that have passed on. Is there anybody you'd like to hear from? Why don't we start with you, Lori?
Mom.
Let's start with me. I guess I'll see what comes up. Most of the family that, were my immediate family, like my mother, my stepfather, and my grandparents have all passed. So if somebody, from the other side, wants to leave a message, great. If not, that's okay too.
Okay. And sometimes people that you don't even know from way down in the lineage comes through as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got,
I
I
always
always
give
give
you.
you a good night kiss.
Aw.
So when you're like in that
Twilight,
right,
yeah.
twilight,
Yeah.
you
Twilight.
feel a kiss on your cheek, feel like the little butterfly kiss. So I don't know why I'm hearing grandma.
Really?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like if it was grandma, it would be not a birth grandma, because I had a grandma in my life who my dad's mother passed away when he was 5, and my grandfather remarried when I was like 2 years old, and she's a very dear soul. I would imagine it would be her.
Okay. Well, I always say if that's what you think, if that's what you feel,
Yeah.
that's probably who it is.
Oh.
Definitely. Most definitely. I mean, we're all intuitive.
Yeah.
We all, some
Yeah.
of us aren't as open. I mean, shoot, even my dad, who's as closed off as can be, gets intuitive hits once in a while.
Right?
So we're all intuitive. Matt, is there somebody?
Yeah, just go with my mom. Scarlett. Or my mother
So
or daughter. But my mother.
how did she
yeah, my-
pass away? If you don't mind me asking, was it sudden?
That's fine. Oh yeah, she was murdered.
So these two cards jumped out when I was shuffling. The first is we are all connected, or we're so connected.
Mhm.
The other is the same one I got from my son. I had to leave that way.
Oh.
So,
So,
Wow.
have you?
Mm.
Do you? How long ago was it when she passed away?
It'll be 22 years.
Oh wow!
May 27th, like a week and a half or so. Yeah.
Was it
20 years.
someone she knew, or was it a stranger?
My stepfather.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they were going through a divorce, and she was still living upstairs in my old bedroom, and going through for like 2 years, too long, really, for a divorce, and it just happened one day. I talked to the night before, but
so there was an agreement between them that this would happen because there was lessons that needed to be learned. So either lessons for him, possibly for you. Was there any rhyme or reason, any sense to it?
something traumatic happened, supernatural happened within that next year. It was already happening, and then it just took another step a year later. So yeah, definitely. That's something I'm going to talk about right now. But yeah.
Okay, no, but I just feel like when you get this, that there was a reason that they had to leave that way, that there was a lesson we had to learn, or that, like for me with my son, was to put me on this path. So there's a reason and once you can get to that acceptance, helps you to move through the grief a lot more quickly. When everyone says, oh, it was God's plan, which, when they told me that, my first response was, don't effing tell me that it was God's plan to take my son.
For
That's
real,
definitely
right?
it's not what you want to hear, but it definitely was a realization, I guess, that I came to
Yeah.
in a different way.
Yeah.
So, Carissa, you want to hear from your grandma?
How about my dad?
Your dad?
My
Okay.
dad comes through.
I wish I told you I love you more often.
Oh,
Mhm.
That was another one I used to get a lot from my boy.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah, this one just, I mean, the messages are so obvious with these. I mean, it's just, I used to get the same messages over and over and over, and I finally sold my deck of cards. I'm like, there's no more messages to get. And then I started doing readings for other people, and I'm like, well, I guess I have to buy a new deck. So,
if somebody does want to get a reading from you, Tammy, how can they find you?
Yeah.
they can go to my website, tammygamester.com. So I have my grief coaching, and then I also offer angel card readings. I use oracle cards, and I use angel tarot. I don't use traditional tarot, but I use the tarot cards that Radley Valentine has created.
Have you ever used the Doreen Virtue deck? Have you ever?
Well, Radley and Doreen actually, Radley created the tarot decks. Doreen's name was just on them. She knew absolutely nothing about tarot. But yeah, his decks, I use actually Angel Wisdom Tarot is what I use quite a bit. And I use his Archangel Michael Oracle. And then he and Dougal created angels and auras, which I'm using quite a bit lately too, that I really resonate with. So, but I kind of, when I'm home, it's easier because I have all my decks handy. When I go to shows, I only take a couple decks with me. So I kind of have my go-tos that I use. But then I also do a really thing that I absolutely love, which is angel numerology. So I tell you what your life path, your destiny number, your personality, all these are. And then I do your angel numbers for the whole year ahead. So then say, for instance, this month your angel number is a 4. That means your angels are with you. So that's about receiving messages from your angels about any concerns that you're having. Like when I tell you your angels are with you, what concern are you thinking about right then and there? And then that's what they can help you with, and to stop worrying that, we got your back. We're here. And then the angels that you can work with would be Archangel Shemuel and Archangel Gabriel. So I do this for you for a whole year. And what's really cool about it, I did it for my sister, and she was like, this is so cool. I paid attention this month to what my number was and what was going on. And it helped her to get through the whole month. So the big one, the 5, change is coming. That's really, this month is my change is coming. So that's a really good heads up to know that that's going to happen, what angels you can work with. And then I share with you the personalities of the angels, their specificities, whatever, specialties. There we go. And then I share with you crystals and essential oils associated with that angel as well that you could use, and then their colors too. So like today, I'm wearing Archangel Uriel, my power color, my red. Now, Radley sees Uriel as gold. I originally started learning about the angels from a local lady, Marcy Kagan, who learned from Sunny Dawn Johnston, who lives in Glendale. And Sunny, so there's two different, really quick, there's two different beliefs about angels. Some believe there's 7 archangels, some believe there's 14. And Sunny teaches 7. Some of the angels have a little different colors. I just associate Uriel with red, and I wanted his power with me today. So
you also do live readings. I mean, you have a group, right? With
yes, we have my friend Kathy Marie Austin and I created Angels in Astrology, And we created a course. So she's the astrology expert. I wouldn't say I'm an angel expert, but so we share in the course, we talk about the zodiac sign and which angel is associated with it, and just all the information, different ways to work with them, share an activation technique, a meditation, all that stuff. So we created a group for people that go through the course. And I do live readings in there. I'm posting the videos. I'm doing the videos on the different angels. So I post those in there. They're on my YouTube channel as well. And just starting, I'm just doing like little snippets, like little 10-minute videos. So it doesn't take a lot of time. And just sharing, like today, the video I did on Michael, I talked about his direction and his element, which his element is fire, his direction is south. So talked about that. And then I also talked about the essential oils. Next time I'm going to talk about crystals. And one thing that a lot of people I have not seen a lot of, they don't talk about the symbols that, like Michael has his sword and his shield and the blue flame. So I've done a little research into that, and I'm going to talk about that in my next video of what those symbols mean. So that's kind of interesting. And then I'll move on to the next angel when I'm complete with one. So.
And this is a Facebook group they can find you at, right? What's
Angels and Astrology? And we have an Instagram page, or Instagram page, is that what they call it? Kathy more runs that. I don't as much. I do the Facebook page. I'm older. I'm more comfortable with Facebook.
No problem. I'll make sure that I link it in the show notes if people want to find a way to reach out to you, or catch you on in a Facebook group or anything like that.
We would love to have them join the Facebook group.
As a member of the Embrace Your Journey Expo, and I have worked the expo as well, and there's also, do you also participate in the Phoenix Psychic Fair?
I have not done the psychic fair in quite a few years.
Other like a fair or expo, or like maybe even a bookstore or metaphysical store that we might find you in?
I actually do Sweetheart's Gifts and Graces every first Friday. I'm there as well. And we're going to be at Embracing Your Journey in September and November. I think those are the next 2 dates. We'll be there for that.
Well, so you have been amazing. I've learned so much. We've all learned so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us today.